Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's TVM Open Development Meeting. Uh, for today's agenda, we have several topics today. The first one is um, the in-place opportunities in the LLM runtime. TQ will give us a talk about that. Then Stephen will talk about the documentation and revisiting the previous issues about the well-formedness about the after parsing, something like this. Hello, TQ, please take it away.
Yeah, thank you. So I think one thing that I can do is maybe I can just share a screen on the yeah. So this is I think this was an opportunity that we get um, a while ago in a sense that we find in a lot of cases it will be useful to mix the normal model updates, right, with the kind of like normally when you call a relaxed model, it's more like returning a value as opposed to, and that's like a common way to do it, right? But in other cases, it might be useful to directly write the return value onto a existing region. So for example, in this particular case, we have this like image encoding that allows you to imagine that you want to do like an embedding lookup and image encoding, right? So in this case, embedding lookup will gives you will directly write into part of regions, and then image encoding will rise to another part of region that's being offset by index. So the advantage of this is that it simplifies allocation. Like usually in serving, you want to allocate the rest of the memory for KV cache so that and you usually have a fixed per-filling chunk size, like and if in multimodality mode, you might need to have a per-filling chunk size to be kept by the total length of a text and image encoding as opposed to like each of them. So in order to do that, effectively we need something like a destination passing transformation, right? So we want to be able to explicitly passing in the output tensors onto the encoding function. The other thing that we need to do is we also need a offset that indicates, from where you want to start write this into. So I think there are opportunities in this kind of general form of in place transformation. Like you that allows you to take originally not in place function, right? That directly take original input and return the original value, and you transform it into something that explicitly passing the output and offset you do in place right onto it. So the advantage of doing this is a bit more modular, and then in certain cases maybe it can also allows you to do future fusions. Like for example, maybe MATML don't have to write onto a intermediate buffer, and you can directly write onto a subset of regions directly. So I think that, the post here kind of list opportunities, and we did find it might be useful in, for example, building mostly serve because we want to capture maximum memory minimum. Yeah. So I guess that's the end of it. To see if you have any questions. Yeah.
Not a question. I do want to point out, I just put up a PR that should make it possible to run this example.
Yeah.
I have not yet tried it, but I've added support for fusing call TIR in place, and it does look like it works.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try this example. Definitely, definitely good to have it working like that. I think the big issue, maybe, okay, here's a question though. Maybe I'd be curious to hear your perspective. So for using some of these in-place operators, I guess what would be the mechanism? Do we anticipate some kind of automatic rewrite? And if so, what should that rewrite be? Or do you think this should be done manually?
In this case, Eric have his hands up. So
Oh, sorry, see, I have general opinions, but wasn't sure if there were specific things as well. I'd say that anything that is overwriting the user's inputs should be done explicitly by the user. Anything that is us internally overwriting intermediate allocations, I think we can do automatically as part of the internal lowering and optimization. And so then the privacy annotations become very important for distinguishing where we can give ourselves the authority to overwrite
In this
regions.
case, I think according to Eric's principle, which I agree, user need to explicitly say, I want to do this, right? And I think it's not too hard for user to say that, because effectively you already get a function that's not destination path, and user say, okay, now I change my mind and I really want this function to write into this particular subregion, right? And they can run this transformation to do that, which I think is pretty cool. It will, if you can fuse more, like it will allow you to be able to have this like a pre-allocated function that that kind of lifts the final output allocations to the upper side. Yeah.
Okay, Eric, I definitely agree with your principle. Yes, dangerous overwriting should be done explicitly and not implicitly. I guess so. Okay. I guess I have one concern. I'm curious to hear your perspective about it with this kind of overwriting. If you're, by the way, Tenchi, be mindful, yeah, of what you put on the shared screen. Okay, so if we permit this kind of overwriting, let's say you're overwriting a parameter, which I think, yes, this example does. The final embedding gets partly overwritten. This is a violation of purity, right? It's no longer a pure function, but we don't call it impure. And the way call TIR in place works is it treats it as pure. So I guess, what should be our attitude toward this? I mean, should we take the attitude of, do dangerous things, win fun prizes, or or should we try to handle it? I mean, I'm curious to hear perspectives.
I think in this case, the call TIR in place does consume the final embedding, right? So although it's not pure, it's like encoding the side effect in functional languages. So if we allow that, I feel like and the user know that this is intentionally being constructed that way, right? I feel like it should be okay. Yeah.
Yes, seconding that see, I would say an impure function is something that mutates an argument. A pure function could be one that takes something and now has ownership and returns something, a modified version. So because then from the point of view of the external caller, that thing is no longer accessible, and so any side effects of accessing through the original tensor are not valid to begin with. So agreeing entirely with TQ along similar reasoning.
I agree with this. I wonder also if you're willing to talk about it. I saw there was a second post you made yesterday. I haven't had the chance to go through it in detail, also related to in-place in-place computation.
Yeah, so I think we are getting to interesting things like relax and in-place are getting interesting, right? So
yes.
I think the other one, so this one is about transform parameters. So normally when you have machine learning functions, you have the input and you have parameters on here, right? And then during the computations, we might have some intermediate transformations. For example, maybe you want to choose to transpose W a bit before you do the math mount because that's the best layout. Or in certain cases, maybe you have things like a matrix multiplication operator do auto tuning and decide for this platform I want to pre-pack the layout of W. So previously we have this path called transform parameters that effectively lift out this transformation. So you can find that this is original code, right? And then after transformation, you get parameter W1, W2 pre-transpose, and you return a new parameter. So the way it works is that when you load the the module, you first load the parameter you call transform params to get your new parameter, and then main now takes a new parameter that's being transformed. It's like a loading time optimization, right? So so this is good. On the other hand, the issue of doing the loading time is that there's a memory issue, right? Because in this case, we have parameters in here. We do W1, W0, and parameter is not being released until you get return values. That means that if you are doing since language models, you are going to pay double the memory cost, peak memory cost when doing the weights. Okay, but we know that actually the intent of transfer parameter is actually we are trying to not doing we're trying to do it in a more smarter way, right? So that you don't have to explicitly you don't have to explicitly you don't need original parameters effectively. When you load it, you transpose it, and you just need a new parameter. So ideally, we want something either just modify the original path that allows you to have an in-place flag, or have a path after that. I feel like modify original path might be easier, depending on how we implement it, but that's a detail. So the idea is that you want to be able to have this function called in-place transform parameter that takes a set of parameters, and then you transpose and immediately you do an in-place update of that parameter. And in here, again, we are consuming parameters and returning a new tuple. Yeah. And then finally, you are getting to the final output. So the advantage here is that if you do this, then likely, you are not wasting a lot of memories, right? So because, you have 4 GB parameters, you load it in, you are doing in place transforming all of them to the target values. And then we can afford to use the in load time. And it can actually solve a lot of problems. Like, for example, right now we have different weight formats, and we don't necessarily need so many weight formats. For each of the platforms, optimal weight can also be different. So having this will allow us to be able to, generate code for each of the platforms. That, yeah.
Very nice. Okay, so yeah, I think one message I'm getting from all this is that we probably do need I know it's not the first time I've said it, but this is really reinforcing to me. We probably do need some kind of ownership semantics. So I will now that I've made that update to Fuse TIR, I think I will turn my attention to that partly.
You will notice that all these optimization are not necessarily about efficiency, right? From the efficiency point of view, likely, the in-place version and in-place are going to be similar. It's mainly about memory consumption. Like you want to reduce the amount of memory allocations when necessary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any questions for TQ?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't have a question. I just probably yes. We can go to the second topic today. Oh, Eric has a question.
Yeah. How would this handle transformation? Like, you gave the example of transposition. See, how would this handle cases where there's a backend allocation that like if we're transposing from see, a one rectangular shape to another, those could be handled under the same backend allocation. And so it could, in principle, be done with a in-place update. But I don't know how I would write that at the relax level in order to specify that. And so or if it's something like transforming between data types that use or that have the same bit size, is this something that we'd want to support as the general in-place update? Or is this something that we should, at the relaxed level, handle as replacing that specific tensor?
Yeah, I think there's a caveat here, right? So because if we are just doing in place, in non-elementalized kernels, that's the dangerous part, right? Because you could read what others write. So ideally you don't want to do that, and you need a temporal memory to do that. And I feel like the transformation that we did kind of implicitly have that temporal memory being recycled. So that might be a better approach. Yeah.
Eric, I have actually a thought about what you suggested. So I think the way you would accomplish what you proposed would not be done through call TIR in place. It would be done through manipulation of storage allocation. This is something I've been experimenting with. I haven't written a pass to do this, but you know, if you wanted to get, for example, a tensor and its transpose from the same backing allocation. So that's the problem. You have to expose all this stuff.
Correct.
And I don't have an answer for how to do this neatly.
And I know that there are ways to expose it within the TIR, but that those encode these, or by encoding the stride of each dimension into the buffer, but that's basically throws out any of the optimized kernels that all assume row major packing of some sort. And so at that point, there's less of a purpose to doing so in that manner. And so that's why I've been thinking of it primarily as transforming into a new buffer, but I was curious if there would be any way to express it in this manner.
Yeah. I mean, I guess to spell it out, by the way, for anyone who's not familiar with this, the functions built-in.alloc storage, or yeah, I think it's built-in.alloc storage and built-in.alloc tensor. These give you access to the, you know, byte level allocations, so you could do whatever you want with those bytes. The only problem, as Eric alluded to, is that there's no guarantee that TIR will accept whatever you do with those bytes. So yeah, this is not something we've worked on a lot. So yeah, if we wanted to try manipulating, you know, these low level allocations, there would be a lot we would have to do. It might be worth it.
I'd add not just that the TIR would accept it, but also that a Kublas kernel would accept it. Thank you.
Probably we can transition to the next topic. Steven, can you take it away?
Sure. Let me just update the notes. Okay, so documentation. I wanted to. So the main reason I put it on the agenda is I wanted to give a shout out for the RFC I wrote for the Relax language specification. The specification itself isn't new because I already had one provisionally as a PR, but there's now an official RFC on it. I encourage all who are interested to review the RFC and vote on it. But that is only one form of documentation. There are other issues. So Tianqi posted recently also a forum post talking about refactoring the Unity docs. So now that Unity is in main, I would say this is a much more pressing issue. Obviously, it's in the main branch of TVM. People are going to see it. People are going to want to use these features. So we should provide guides. I haven't gone through Tianqi's forum post in huge detail, but certainly, we should prioritize having, definitely not just API comments, but also tutorials, which is one thing that's talked about in here. Having high-level guides would be very useful. So I guess I'll open the floor there. Tianqi, if you want to talk about the forum post you made, you're welcome to. I really just wanted to make the announcement, but definitely this is a very very wide spanning topic. Definitely a lot of perspectives we can take on documentation.
Yeah, I feel like today maybe it's we can follow up a lot more on the post itself, given that that's yeah.
Yes, it is a substantial post.
Yeah. But maybe one thing that we can do is we can also start think about how do we collect topics. Sorry, it's not related to immediately this one, but how do we collect topics for the incoming meetings? so that we can announce ahead of time and getting folks to attend. Yeah.
That's worth thinking about. Yeah, let's put it on the agenda.
Our next meeting is about language models, right? So it's
a vertical focused meeting for the next one, I think.
yeah. So maybe do we have agenda yet for next meeting?
Not
Does
yet.
not look like.
Yeah. So maybe we can try to try to wrangle some of the topics. Let's see. I know that, for example, Charlie here had some nice result on WebM, so maybe we can do a WebM update on that. Yeah, and let's see. And another thing that might be helpful is, maybe we can ask Rehan a bit to see if he had an update on MLC Serve. I think that's yeah, that are two, and we should announce early and more broadly for this case. Yeah. We have other agendas, other topics on the agenda.
See, for today's agenda, we think since we already covered all.
There was one more.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
But I'll make it very quick because I think discussing procedure, how do we gather topics, is probably also it's very important. So I think we should discuss it too. I just wanted to make also kind of a quick shout out. Some of you may remember, on October 3rd, I brought up an issue that the parser does not check well-formedness. So this leads to some bizarre situations, like having a packed call inside a data flow block. And yeah, the reason I want to bring this up again is because at that meeting, we decided that we would allow for a way to have pure packed calls. We added the operator call pure packed as a result of that meeting. And since that meeting, I've also added data flow block extraction. So I want to put in this change. I want to have the parser check well-formedness, but this might break MLC. Because some of the MLC models make use of this behavior. They put in packed calls to data flow blocks, which I would say should not be permitted. So I just want to make sure if I put in this change that MLC will use call pure packed, or they could use the data flow block extraction, one or the other or both, just to make sure that things don't break horribly. I'm happy to work with whoever maintains those particular models to make this painless. But I think it is worth, enforcing the language constraints. So I wanted to say it at the meeting so that, it could be heard, discussed, or disputed, whatever you would like.
So I think the motivation there is we just want to use call pure packed, right? On the
Yeah, it should be pretty painless, I think.
okay. And I feel like if we can have a PR to the MLC to make sure these get updated first, that would be good, right? So that we can.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I guess I haven't delved into MLC myself, so I don't know where to look, but I can look into it. I'm happy to make the change myself. Right, just a heads up then. Okay, I'll work on that change. So I think that leaves us then with just the procedure point. How do we gather topics for future meetings? This is a good question. It is Young, I'm sure you can also speak to this. It is kind of hard to get people to put things on the agenda. So how should we do it?
Every week, I try to reach out to some folks. Also, try to browse commits in the past 1 or 2 weeks. Try to reach out to that guy who committed the code to the TVM. That's the mechanism I used to collect topics.
I feel like there are two folds, right? On one thing is, it's really hard to come up with a new topic every week, depending on where things are. So maybe one thing we can do is we can have a default agenda, saying that, okay, this is just a time for people to come in and chat, and so on. And we don't have to make sure that we run it every week. And for the language model focused ones, I feel like we could start a bit earlier and coordinate a bit so that we can, likely there will be topics on that end always. Yeah.
Could we maybe see, like, could there be someone responsible for, reporting whether there are things to discuss? Like, I don't know, like, for example, right, MLC, there are a bunch of people who work on it. Could someone, like, one or more than one person who works on it just say, here are or whenever, especially when we have the vertical focus meetings, right? Someone could just be responsible for reaching out, seeing what's there to report for this, because it's not that often. Hopefully, it won't be a huge responsibility.
Yeah, maybe Charlie can help, I guess. Sorry for PowerPoint. Yeah, taking out.
Like basically asking MLC folks for updates for the vertical meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Charlie.
I guess. I guess maybe a good question. The better question is, like, maybe where is the best place to reach out? Because I've always posted on our, like, the Discord is the only shared forum, or the only shared messaging system for everyone. And Young and I have made posts on there, and I don't get the sense that it's a very active channel, which that's not necessarily anyone's fault, but it's not an active channel, so I get the sense that it's probably not the best place where people will see it. We also post in the discuss board, and again, doesn't seem to get responses a lot of the time. So
yeah, I think
maybe
discuss board is the right place. Maybe a week before. The problem is if we post the amounts ahead of time, right? And then people forget. So maybe a week before you also get posted on the discuss board, and I will also try to forward it to related folks so that yeah.
Okay. So we should try. Oh, okay. So should we? Okay, so should we do that for like all of these open development meetings? Just post like 2 weeks in advance instead of 1 week in advance.
I think that's a good idea. No. But yeah. I don't know. We can also see what others think. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I like the idea of having a default agenda though. That's good. So yeah, so that we don't cancel meetings. No matter what people have posted. If someone wants to show up and talk, there will
Yeah, I
be a
like
time
that
to do
idea.
it. I say let's do that. Posting farther in advance, we could also very easily start doing that.
Seems we already covered all the topics today. Steven, do you have any other items to talk here today? Otherwise, we can probably wrap up a little bit early ahead of schedule today.
I have nothing to add.
Okay, then we can wrap up a bit early ahead of schedule today. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, folks.